Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star Part 199 based on novel. So let's start. When the first batch of 10 emperors appeared tens of thousands of kilometers away, Bloodbeast, Heavy Arrow and Luophone were on the move. I've lost 42% of my undying body, and that human actually withstood the entire blast. It's unbelievable. If he uses another flame god crystal, I may fall. It isn't worth losing my life over the sacrificial tower treasure. Bloodbeast swiftly flew at his max speed, trying to rush out of the space lock area. Flee. The damaged Heavy Arrow chose the same path. These two were scared off by the explosion. The first explosion destroyed everything around them. With two strongest flame god crystals, that was akin to 200 billion indigo gems instantly reduced to nothing. Its power, however, was shocking. To survive this first wave alone was hard enough, they didn't have the confidence to take another. They both flew simultaneously in different directions. There's just this one human. He can only chase one of us, and the space lockdown area is only so small. There is no way he can get both of us. Both emperors' thoughts were similar. With a diameter of 10,000 kilometers, this was truly very small area to such warriors. As long as they rushed straight out, if Luophone hesitated for even a second, they would be able to escape. However, at Luophone's level, how could he lose focus at the critical moment? Heavy Arrow suffered more damage. I'll deal with him first. He flapped his wings and shot after Heavy Arrow. Ha ha. Bloodbeast and Luophone flew in different directions. He naturally escaped the space lock region. I won't stay here any longer. He glanced at the stunned 10 emperors that just appeared. Smiling coldly, those punks, they can only hope the human doesn't go crazy again. If he does, their little bit of strength would be destroyed by the flame god crystals. It's time to leave. He didn't dare stay any longer. He vanished and teleported far away. The automaton Kampan Meng Emperor and the other group of tens of emperors had just arrived. But the scene in front of them certainly shocked them. An area over 10 million kilometers of vast land, rivers, mountains, snow, everything was gone, leaving nothing but a wasteland. The ripples from the terrifying explosion before were still resonating around the area. Just the ripples alone were enough to make the emperors shudder. What shocked them even more was the incredibly renowned and invincible Heavy Arrow and Bloodbeast Emperor. These two emperor limits were fleeing madly in two different directions. Bloodbeast managed to escape and teleport. Heavy Arrow, however, was being chased by a silver-winged and armored human. Just what happened here? Madness. This. The emperors were all stunned and pondering, as the scene before them was simply too unexpected. What sort of attack would reduce such a huge area to nothing? How terrifying of an attack was this? Even an emperor limit wouldn't be able to do so much damage. Madness. It's no wonder Purple Clock fell. What happened here? Bloodbeast and Heavy Arrow are both emperor limits. How can they be losing? Bloodbeast has escaped, but Heavy Arrow is being chased. They were stunned. In mid-air another batch of emperors appeared, and another. The many groups began to rush over as the numbers quickly exceeded 100. However, when they arrived, they were all stunned. According to the explosion ripples and the area of wasteland, they could easily deduce just how terrifying the attack was. It was able to completely destroy all of them. And the scene of Heavy Arrow fleeing scared them. What's going on in Meng? Why is Heavy Arrow being chased? Another group of emperors that arrived later asked. Not just him, Bloodbeast was scared off earlier. Bloodbeast escaped? Isn't he good friends with Heavy Arrow? Who knows? Purple Clock has fallen. I feel that this may be troublesome. Attention all, this doesn't seem too good. I'll take my leave first. Sue. A Pinnacle Emperor immediately teleported away. What a joke. Any of them being able to survive till Emperor level would all be incredibly wise. If even Bloodbeast escaped and Heavy Arrow was being chased, while Purple Clock fell a while ago, including the tens of millions of kilometers of wasteland, it all proved one thing. It proved that this area was extremely dangerous. A point where even Emperor limits could fall. Since their strength difference was obvious, the naturally wiser ones would choose to leave. Look! Heavy Arrow is in danger. The stunned emperors all looked on at the distant battle. Luo Feng had picked Heavy Arrow to attack because he had suffered greater damage. Normally, any Undying with 50% damage on his Undying body would only have 10% of their strength left. One had to know that the initial small losses on the Undying body didn't affect their strength much, but as the damage grew, the effect became more absurd. Losing within 10% of the Undying body had almost no effect at all on their strength. Losing 30% would leave only 50% of their strength. Losing 50% would leave only 10%. Losing 70% would leave less than 1% of their strength. After losing 90%, they would fall into a coma and they would lose their consciousness. Only after long periods of time in their comatose state they might slowly recover or even slowly fade away until they died. Anyway, in that state, they had no defense at all. It was clear that the loss of the Undying body had a huge effect on their strength. After losing 59% of my Undying body, my strength is only a little stronger than a High Emperor. Heavy Arrow was worried as he saw Luo Feng catching up. His silver wings left 3 warps in space and he immediately caught up. The two of them had a huge difference in speed. Die Heavy Arrow. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed coldly. Human, don't get ahead of yourself. Heavy Arrow immediately pulled out a completely black and silver bow with an arrow lodged in the middle. It was rare to see a bow and arrow user in the universe, because it couldn't compare to a spirit weapon. However, the genuinely knowledgeable users were terrifying. Relying on the bow itself, it could amplify their strength greatly. Xiao! The bow launched the arrow. A black arrow with yellow traces tore through tens of kilometers. The land and skies were silent as a long slit was left in the space. The power of the arrow was obviously condensed, even the slit was incredibly fine. However, as the arrow hit Luo Feng's wings, it barely even moved a feather. Since it could even withstand the Flame God crystal explosion, naturally this was nothing. You only had that one chance. Luo Feng flapped his wings and got close, not giving his enemy another chance. Die? He brandished the poison shadow blade. With both the wings and blade, he unleashed Moon Policy. Using his own pinnacle technique with his High Emperor strength, with the Shouwu wing's internal space energy, it had terrifying tearing abilities. The power of his attack was amplified further as the wings produced a silver light, slashing through Heavy Arrow's armor and the poisoned blade slashed at his undying body. What? He didn't even have time to dodge as he got slashed, feeling the Fei Mo poison begin to invade his body. Tear! He wanted to cut off that part of his undying body. Cloud Contact Vine. Luo Feng wouldn't give him the chance. 10 vines shot out from his shoulder and fiercely wrapped about Heavy Arrow. Heavy Arrow had originally lost 59% of his undying body. That slash earlier made him lose over 80% of his power. Even the Cloud Contact Vine could forcefully hold him at this point, and the most peculiar thing was the 3 vines that wrapped around him had 3 thorns that pierced deep into his body and held him in place. The slash earlier along with the 3 stabs, all contained Fei Mo poison on it. Luo Feng had managed to create 9 thorns with the poison, and every one of them with 30 drops of the Fei Mo poison. However, because he was already in a tragic state before, having lost 59% of his undying body, it made his overall body fall to only 12%. Kai? 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 The 3 thorns immediately pulled themselves out. They were afraid of staying within for too long as it would immediately poison Heavy Arrow to death. Heavy Arrow's eyes went vacant as his consciousness faded, not even moving within the Cloud Contact Vine. Even though 10% was the definite comatose level, according to the different levels of willpower, some would go into a coma at 15% or 16%. At this point, Heavy Arrow had fallen into a coma. Keep. Luo Feng immediately kept the comatose Heavy Arrow into a separate world ring. Everything happened extremely quickly. The other emperors around the area could all see that Heavy Arrow had already suffered huge losses, and from the battle after, his strength wasn't even at Pinnacle Emperor. The human strength wasn't even enough to scare off the huge number of emperors. Hence many were still hesitating, with only very few having fled first. Most chose to simply stay and watch. The space ripples kept shaking as more batches of emperors arrived. Just one human? That's him, the human Yang. Kill. Get the treasure. The sixth batch had just arrived with 21 emperors. They saw that the one human Yang was surrounded by over 100 emperors. But they had no way to know that the earlier emperors were stunned by the scene before. By coming later, they didn't get to see Bloodbeast fleeing, or Heavy Arrow being forced into a coma. They just assumed the human was surrounded. Hence, the greedy emperors decided to rush in first, and this batch of 21 completely went for it. Rumble. The greedy group of emperors became resplendent beams of light shooting straight at Luo Feng. This group of idiots. It's not their fault. If we didn't witness the scene of Bloodbeast fleeing or Heavy Arrow entering his coma, we would have rushed in too if there was only one human there. Anyway, we are all from the same camp, we don't have to worry about fighting each other for the treasure. Just a matter of whoever gets it first. The other onlooking emperors chatted. His space lock had remained activated throughout. Luo Feng wielded his blood shadow blade and flapped his wings, floating up and gazing at the 18 silhouettes rushing over. There were 2 pinnacle emperors, 6 high emperors and 10 low emperors that rushed into his space lockdown area. Pitiful other race warriors, I'll use you to leave a message. Luo Feng muttered. Kill. Kill that human. Take the sacrificial tower treasure. The 18 emperors were all filled with killing intent, unleashing their energies as they rushed over. Luo Feng flapped his wings and became a blur. He left warps in the air as he slashed straight at one high emperor. That undying was covered in flames all over, even his eyes were burning, and he wielded a huge metal chain. When Luo Feng rushed over, he whipped the chain forward to wrap about Luo Feng. Luo Feng became a demonic blur. He used the poison shadow blade to defend against the chain and rushed close to the undying, unleashing moon policy. A glaring silver slash tore through the space, lasting long after. The slash tore through the armor of the undying and slashed his body. In an instant, it left 0.4 drops of Famo poison on him. This immolating undying stared wide-eyed in shock, after which he instantly crumbled and fell. What? He's dead. How can a high emperor be killed instantly? The large group of emperors watching from far were all shocked. Even though many had seen Heavy Arrow fall into his comatose state, however, the initial moment they saw him, he was already heavily damaged and was almost about to fall. Secondly, they guessed it was related to the cloud contact vine. This time, however, they witnessed the silver slash that slashed past the undying, instantly reducing the high emperor to nothing. This was a high emperor, and the cloud contact vine didn't even appear. Under normal circumstances, only an emperor limit could kill a low emperor that easily. As for a high emperor, to easily kill one was an extremely hard thing to do, unless one was an emperor proficient in soul attacks. Soul attacks were incredibly complex things, the power was terrifying, but at the same time, it was incredibly hard to use. Normally out of tens of emperors there would only occasionally be one who was proficient in it. Luo Feng's blade completely caused the onlooking emperors and other 17 rushing over to be shocked. The battle, however, didn't give these 17 time to think. The Famo poison sure depletes fast. Luo Feng kept the goods of that fallen undying and flashed his wings, rushing at another low emperor. The blade only briefly touched the chain and I lost about 0.5 drops. Also, I used another 0.2 drops on his armor, only 0.4 drops truly attacked his body. The weakness of the poison was obvious. Because it was melded with the blade, at an emperor-level fight, weapons would clash and the space about would be destroyed, and the force was several times that of stars clashing. Such a clash would use some of the poison on the blade. Hence, its optimum usage method was when Luo Feng used it to kill Purple Clock. First destroy the undying body, making them unable to defend. Then slash the undefendable body. Without the armor or weapon to defend, how easy would it be? However, destroying the undying body alone was tough. I'm simply getting my money's worth. 300 billion mixed elements gets me 1 kilogram. Its power is not bad already, I can deal with the flaws. Luo Feng easily flashed past the low emperor's attack and his silver slash flew past the head of that emperor, after which, he too crumbled. He had fallen. Killing a low emperor sure is easy, he's already weaker and I only used 0.1 drops to break the armor. The other 0.3 drops completely attacked his body. Kill. Luo Feng rushed at another high emperor. His slashes were incredibly precise. As a self-created pinnacle technique, in terms of usage and precision, even the primal Chaos City leader praised it. It was terrifying and beautiful. It was a slash that tore through the skies, with undyings falling. Each slash resulted in emperors falling. No one could withstand it, as every slash represented the death of another emperor. Surround and attack him. Surround him. The undyings wanted to surround Luo Feng, but his speed was simply demonic. The 18 that had rushed over had already fallen. No one was able to keep up with him. The silver wings flapped and he warped about, easily dodging the emperors and aiming for his next target. Whoever he killed was completely up to him. Flashes of his blade were terrifying and beautiful, and painful screams could be heard as the high and low emperors didn't have any hopes of ever being revived by the universe masters. Flee! Quickly flee! We can't take his blade, he is too terrifying. The other emperors began to flee. However, even so, their speed was far from Luo Feng's. With a flap of his silver wings, he caught up to another group and circled them. There were 3 flashes of his blade. Another 3 emperors fell. Finally, the last 5 emperors fled into the distant group of other emperors. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng wielded his blood shadow blade in the air. Gazing at the up to 200 emperors that had come, there was silence in the air as everyone was shocked by the scene before. 18 emperors rushed forward, among which only 5 remained. There were 2 pinnacle emperors, 1 high and 2 low within. The other 13 had all fallen. 13 emperors. In the history of the Yangji continent, the percentage of emperors falling was extremely low. For 13 to fall at once, such an event hadn't occurred in a very long time. The last time it happened was probably hundreds of millions of years ago, back when Ghost Mound Emperor let loose. His name grew from that incident as he became a pinnacle being amongst trillions of races. He actually killed so many emperors at once, some of which were high emperors and some close to pinnacle emperors. Yet they all died so easily. His blade work is perfect, and there are laws infused within too. His slashes aren't like space laws or gold laws at all, or any other laws. They all didn't know that Luo Feng was trained in the Beast God path, which was the fusion of gold and space. This was extremely rare in the universe, and these emperors had never seen it before. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? A short pinnacle emperor howled. Can't you all see that he's only dealing with the low and high emperors, not ever touching the pinnacle emperors? That means his strength is insufficient, otherwise why wouldn't he attack them? Fen Nong Emperor, didn't you see Bloodbeast Emperor fleeing and Heavy Arrow falling into a coma? Humph, that's enough to scare you? That human has probably used up all his trump cards already. Everybody saw it, and after all that he shouldn't have the strength of an emperor limit. To do so much, means he must have paid a huge price, and he probably can only do such a thing once. Would there be a second time? And we already have over 200 emperors here. Will over 200 emperors be scared off by merely 1 human? You can go ahead first, stop instigating the others to their deaths. The warriors watching all had different opinions. Suddenly a boom resounded within the space about. Attention all automaton camp undyings. This sound made all the undyings look over. It was from the human yang of whom they had surrounded. The silver-winged human wielding the blood shadow blade smiled. Don't worry, the emperor limits are all extremely powerful beings. There's no way for me to easily kill them, I just have to pay a big enough price, like this thing I have here. He flipped his hand and a beautiful black crystal with red lights on it appeared. The entire crystal had 10,081 sides with lore engravings all around it, The Undyings all felt the terrifying energy within. Strongest flame god crystal. 100 billion indigo gems for one. It can even kill Emperor limits. Pinnacle Emperors will definitely die. The over 200 Emperors there all looked on with shock. This was the strongest crystal that anyone could create. As its strength was absurd, the moment it exploded, even if the over 200 Undyings used all their strength together to defend against it, 90% of them would still fall. After all, none of them were Emperor limit. Against the restless 200 Emperors, Luo Feng smiled, simultaneously connecting to the virtual universe and contacting Shiwu Emperor and shutting off his space lock. He simply wanted to scare them off this time. He wanted them to know he is not one to be messed around with. As for massacring all of them, he only had 4 such strongest flame god crystals. He had used 2 before and only had 2 more left. And to instantly kill all the automaton emperors on Yangji continent, it would definitely enrage a lot of absolute beings in the automaton camp. The emperor limits may get together and other powerful background warriors may want to come deal with him. That would be troublesome. Scaring them is enough. I don't have enough strength to deal with the trouble, he thought. And my strength now is obviously lacking. I'm still weak going head to head with the stronger Undyings. Over 200 emperors surrounding Luo Feng. When the black silhouette Shiwu Emperor teleported beside Luo Feng, he was shocked. So many emperors? He was completely stunned. Yang, what's going on? Don't worry. Luo Feng wielded the strongest flame god crystal. When Shiwu Emperor saw that crystal, he too was shocked, after which he looked at the over 200 Undyings and guessed what happened. They were all stunned by the crystal. Within, he couldn't help but feel respect for Luo Feng. This Yang sure has got some guts, and he's crazy enough. To be able to deal with over 200 Undyings, he must have some ability. Let's go, Luo Feng said. Okay. Shiwu immediately teleported with Luo Feng. They vanished and teleported far away. The distant over 200 emperors watched as Luo Feng left with his friend, and no one even tried to stop him. They were completely scared from the appearance of that crystal. Over 200 emperors there were all stunned, watching as Luo Feng simply left. None of them felt that it was a disgrace. Over their long lives, they had all experienced life or death situations many times, and they all had a certain set of rules. Maybe it was natural for them to want to steal the sacrificial tower treasure from a weaker warrior, that he wasn't fit to hold it. But that human earlier, was he weak? Heavy Arrow was in a coma, Bloodbeast had fled, Purple Clock and 13 other emperors were all killed by his blade. This type of result, which of the 200 emperors here could do that? Powerful. Too strong. In that instant, 13 emperors fell, terrifying. Despicable Purple Clock. He even called us over before he died. He truly had evil plans. He knew that even Bloodbeast and Heavy Arrow couldn't deal with this human, yet he called us over. He definitely deserved to die. Purple Clock deserved to die. The groups of emperors there all chatted. Luo Feng's performance earlier had truly subdued all of them. It made them respect him. Without a doubt, he was a true strong warrior, and for such an absolute warrior to hold the treasure was natural. If even such a warrior wasn't fit to hold the treasure, who amongst these over 200 emperors was? That human Yang, even though he seemed low profile, his strength definitely doesn't pale in comparison to an emperor limit. From now on, there's one more absolute warrior we should fear in this 27th battlefield, the human Yang. Does this human not have a title? We only know him as Yang, we've never heard of his title. Never heard. We've never heard either. His blade work was exquisite, each slash formed rivers that lasted for a long time. One slash alone resulted in one emperor falling, and the 13 slashes across the sky killed 13 emperors. From what I see, we should call him Blade River Emperor. Blade River Emperor? Not a bad name. The moment I hear that name, I recall what happened earlier. As the group of watching emperors discussed, they all agreed on a title for the human. Some warriors were given their titles from some superpowers during their official days or emperor days. However, others were named through terrifying incidents or battle results that made everybody agree on a name together. Without a doubt, the latter kinds had more persuasive abilities. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The battle for the sacrificial tower treasure thus came to an end, and the result of the battle ended with the title, Blade River Emperor. He had killed 14 emperors and put an emperor limit in a coma. He even chased Bloodbeast Emperor away. Such a result made his title spread even faster. The automaton camp had their virtual world, within which the over 200 emperors had talked about him with their friends and described his strength. From 100 to 10,000, and 10,000 to 1,000,000. The bug camp, human camp, the demon camp, everybody soon received news about it, and because the news was so terrifying, whoever heard it spread it even more. What? 14 emperors fell. Heavy Arrow is in a coma? That's an emperor limit. How did he lose so badly? Human Blade River Emperor? Blade River Emperor is too powerful. Is he that strong? And the one that managed to get away, Bloodbeast Emperor, naturally heard of the discussions in camp. This camp was the automaton base closest to Yangji continent, and the news naturally spread like wildfire here. He naturally became a stepping stone for Blade River Emperor's name to rise. The news of Bloodbeast fleeing in fear spread fast. Scum. He grit his teeth. That human simply relied on the strongest flame god crystal. If he didn't have that, how could he deal with me? Scum, despicable scum. He howled within. He had also received calls from several friends along with mails, asking him about what happened. This made it hard for him to live. My undying body is severely damaged, losing 42%. If I continue here in the outer region wars, my enemies will definitely deal with me while I'm weak. It's time I return to the race and recuperate. Bloodbeast took the base's travel points and headed back to automaton territory. Through a secluded area in the territory, he teleported via God Country. Within his vast God Country, a shrine floated within the highest peaks of the God Country, and suddenly a blinding blood-colored light lit up and engulfed the entire God Country. The grass, flatlands, mountains, islands, and other regions had countless single-eyed men and women that looked up at the light, after which they all knelt down excitedly. Trillions of such people shouted in worship in their own tongue, God! 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 A sea of shouts filled the entire God Country. Within the core of the God Country, within the shrine, Bloodbeast sat in his throne and heard the calls from the countless people in his God Country. He began to smile, as his mood started to brighten up. Soon, a distant beam of light flew over and more beams shot over, all entering the shrine. In an instant, 9 undying stood within. These were all soul slaves, hence naturally they were completely loyal to him. However, only 2 of them were the same race as Bloodbeast, the rest were of other races. 9 undyings, and only 1 emperor, the rest of them were officials. Master. The 9 of them bowed respectfully. From now on, I will stay in here for a long time. I'll appear after 100 million years, and my territory will be left to B.A. Nuoa to take care of. His voice boomed within the over 10,000 kilometers tall shrine. Yes, Master. A snake-head undying replied respectfully. Master, you injury. A single-eyed male said anxiously below. You can all leave. Bloodbeast said solemnly. Yes. The 9 of them bowed respectfully and left, leaving only Bloodbeast in his shrine. He was already calm now, muttering, Blade River Emperor. Even though he was enraged, he recognized how terrifying of an enemy Blade River was. To produce 2 strongest flame god crystals, even his own entire wealth wasn't enough to buy 2, and Blade River even managed to withstand the full blast. Just these 2 points alone made Blade River terrifying. You were nameless before. And now you've become renowned as I became your stepping stone. However, I know that an emperor capable of withstanding the strongest crystal blast definitely will achieve a lot more in the future. He muttered, unless I break through to become a knight, it will be hard for me to match you. I'll appear 100 million years later. Rumble. The shrine door closed and he began his long road to recovery. Actually, to a being like Bloodbeast, they all had extremely long lifespans, just like True Yang. 100 million years was but a short portion of their life, and staying shut in for that amount of time was a very normal thing for them. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Within the primal universe, primal chaos city, True Yang had always been observing Luo Feng's growth. When Yang unleashed his strength and killed 14 emperors, leaving Heavy Arrow comatose and Bloodbeast fleeing, gaining himself the title Blade River Emperor, True Yang immediately found out through the countless races that were spreading the news. Unbelievable. Even though he used countless treasures, Luo Feng was still only a sector lord. How did he get so strong? Even a pinnacle emperor was killed by him, and an emperor limit was left in coma. True Yang was stunned. No matter what, Luo Feng was still a sector lord. Many treasures had harsh requirements to use. If one had insufficient strength, it was hard to unleash its strength. The general armor required 100 sector lord strength in foundation to be used. Luo Feng had this because he had become a black warrior, trained in the Nameless Manual 2nd volume and used beast god transformation. That was why he could use the general armor. It was obvious that even with treasure, it was still hard to raise one's strength that much. True Yang. A booming voice resounded within True Yang's mind. True Yang was shocked. He immediately replied respectfully, "Primal Chaos City Leader. The news of Luo Feng being Blade River Emperor must be kept a complete secret. It cannot be spread." The booming voice resounded within his mind. Yes. Within the primal ruins, amidst the vast corpses all about, the city leader sat silently within. Even though Luo Feng relied on the flame god crystals, Fei Mo poison, and Shawu wings, he is still only sector lord, and he even used his earth body to do so much. Even though he paid attention to Luo Feng, he was still one of the pinnacle beings of humanity itself. Many important matters were handled by him, and many other even more critical problems were all solved by him. He at most occasionally checked in on Luo Feng. He was very clear. The universe was fair. How much strength could a sector lord unleash, even with a lot of treasures? Making an emperor limit fall into a coma, how hard was that? Is it linked to the Yangshan King armor? But the techniques used by the Yangshan race themselves are gone, and the requirements on the body alone are extremely harsh. Normally only low emperors can fully use the king armor. My disciple, can his earth body trigger the strength of the king armor? He said softly. Looks like I'll have to find time to talk to him properly. Blade River Emperor. Interesting. He is able to receive an emperor title at sector lord level. He then closed his eyes and stopped thinking about Luo Feng, as he had to focus on the predicament his true body was in. This video will end here.